food chain is a sequence illustrating how energy and nutrients move throughout an ecosystem by organisms eating each other. There are two different ways through which the processes are shown. The food chain just shows which animal eats which animal, but the food web shows all the animals who eat each other in the entire ecosystem. The food chain and the food web applies to all ecosystems, including the ocean. The energy pyramid is a diagram that explains the flow of how energy decreases as it moves from the bottom level to the top of the pyramid. Now, let's learn about what each level of the pyramid is. At the bottom level of the pyramid, you will find the producers. The producers create their own energy by absorbing the light from the sun and other chemicals. Trees, grass, shrubs, seaweed, and some bacteria are considered producers. On the second trophic level, above producers, are primary consumers, also known as herbivores. Primary consumers are organisms who rely on consuming other plants and animals to obtain their energy. A few examples of primary consumers are deer, zebras, cows, goats, rabbits, caribou, grasshoppers, and beavers. On the third level of the energy pyramid, above the producers and the primary consumers, are the secondary consumers. The secondary consumers are also known as carnivores. Secondary consumers obtain their energy by eating primary consumers, also known as herbivores. Examples of secondary consumers include wolves, foxes, snakes, dolphins, and predatory birds. On the fourth trophic level, above the producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, there are tertiary consumers. Tertiary consumers are animals who eat both primary and secondary consumers. A few examples of tertiary consumers are lions, tigers, bears, and killer whales. These animals are at the tops of the food chain, food web, and energy pyramid. Last, but definitely not least, are decomposers. You will find these organisms on the side of the energy pyramid as they travel through all the trophic levels. Decomposers are organisms who break down other dead organisms and release the nutrients back into the ecosystem. A few examples of decomposers include earthworms, mushrooms, mold, and tiny algae. The energy pyramid does not just show the trophic levels. It illustrates how each trophic level passes 10% of its energy into the next higher level of the food chain. But what exactly is the last part of the energy pyramid cycle? We all know that the producers absorb the sun's energy to create nutrients, which they pass on to each trophic level until it hits the top predator. But since only 10% of the energy is passed on through the trophic levels, 90% of it is lost as heat. Once the animal dies, it is the decomposer's job to break down the organisms and release the energy back into the ecosystem. Did you know that it could lead to major consequences if one trophic level is taken out of the ecosystem? For example, if primary consumers become extinct, then the tertiary consumers and the secondary consumers will also become extinct because they have nothing to gather their energy from. All the producers, such as the plants, will become overpopulated because they have no predator to limit their expansion. Overall, the food chain and the food web are important because it shows how energy changes and moves through an ecosystem.